Morning coffee talk. Forgiveness. I feel like forgiveness is something that we need to do for ourselves for self-healing. I don't feel like it really has that much to do with the other person. I think it has everything to do with what we need to do in order to have a really happy life. So, to me, forgiveness is looking at your relationships and your expectations of the other person. Now, when you have expectations of other people, I feel like if those expectations aren't met, you're left with the feelings of resentment, sadness, anger, like all the negative things that you can associate with having a relationship with somebody else. So in my mind, forgiveness is forgiving yourself for having those expectations and realizing that people are who they are. And although they may want to give you what you want, some of them simply aren't capable of doing that. So I think forgiveness is saying not only, I'm sorry that I had those expectations of you, but I think just forgiving that person for not being able to give you what you want. And when you forgive yourself for having those expectations and you forgive them for not being able to give you what you want, then you're able to focus on what they can bring to the table. And some people, they can't bring anything. Some people simply just can't add anything to our lives. And that is something that we end up having to accept. So forgiveness and acceptance are symbiotic. They go hand in hand with each other. I think forgiveness is about looking at the people in your life who have hurt you and trying to understand where they've come from, why that they would do that, maybe their motivation behind whatever it was that they did, or just trying to understand who they are as people. And I don't think that it's important to maintain relationships with people that you've forgiven necessarily. So if you had somebody that hurt you in your life, if you get to the point where you can forgive them, that doesn't mean that you have to keep that person in your life. But I think if you choose not to forgive somebody, then ultimately you're just hurting yourself because you have all these feelings of resentment, hurt, anger. Like I said, all the negative aspects that you can retain in a relationship. This is what you're feeling when you choose not to forgive somebody. And it really is a choice. It's your choice. I've heard before that you don't need to actually forgive somebody in order to heal and to move on. And I don't think that that's true. Because I feel like if you don't learn the art of forgiveness, then that's something that poisons the inside of you. Whether or not you fully realize it, whether or not it's like actually impacting your life at the forefront of your life, I still feel like it's there, hidden, even if it's not at the surface. And it's tainting the quality of your life. It's kind of like, having a backpack full of bricks and you're walking around and, you might get used to that weight and you might not even notice it anymore. And maybe, you don't feel like it's really impacting you at all, but once you start to let go of some of the bricks, you realize just how heavy that load was. And the more and more bricks you get rid of, the easier it is to move forward, move around, feel freedom from not carrying such a heavy load. I think that forgiveness is tricky. I think that you can reach a place where you've decided that you've forgiven somebody and then something else can come to the surface and then you have to start the whole process over and over again. But I really do feel like it's inside of you, and it really is not that much about the other person. It's more about looking inside of yourself and figuring out what you need to heal. And maybe when you first say that you forgive somebody, or when you do, it's not heartfelt. You can say, oh yeah, I'm not mad anymore. Yeah, I forgive you. That's fine. And you might not feel that initially, but I think if you get the idea in your head and you kind of let it grow, you just kind of let it sit there and reevaluate the situation and keep telling yourself, yeah, I forgive that person. Yeah, I forgive that person. Eventually you'll get to that place where you do. There's a lot I can say about forgiveness. There's so much. But the root of it all is, I feel to be truly happy, you have to be willing to let go of your expectations of other people, try to understand where they're coming from, and realize that forgiveness is key for yourself in your life to make you happy. And yet you really don't have to have that other person in your life.